the channel. In this video today, we're going over the Magicka Sorcerer build for the Waking Flames. This is a 2-pet build, so let's go ahead and dive into it. Max Magicka is 37.9, really close to 38k. Magic recovery is 1.4. Maximum health is 20.1. Spell damage is 3.6. Unbuffed spell critical is 57.7. Spell pen is 5.3, almost 5.4. I'm a Dark Elf, so keep that in mind. Top 3, High Elf, Khajiit, Dark Elf. Khajiit's probably the best. High Elf, Dark Elf are pretty close second and third. So, either way, pick whichever one you want. If you have trouble sustaining, you may want to go with a Breton. I have 64 points into Magicka. Boon I'm running is the Theif, and the food that I'm running is Ghastly Eye Bowl. Now, this is just the one I like. It's the one I tend to use the most because, as you can see, I have 20k HP. I really don't need any more than that. You can use melon baked Parmesan pork if you have no problem sustaining at all. As you can see, my Magicka goes up 38.3. My max health goes to 26.1. But my magic recovery drops to 797. Unbuffed, if I pop a pot, it goes to 978. So it's still low, really low. So, but you shouldn't have any trouble sustaining with orbs and stuff like that in trials. But personally, even in trials, I still roll with Ghastly Eye Bowl because it is just what I like more. And as you can see, my recovery goes up to 1.7. So, champion points. Green tree, when it comes to the passives. Gilded Fingers, Fortune's Favor, it's gold. That's it. One gives you more gold from everything, increase your gold gain by 10%. And the other one increases your gold by 50% from treasure chests and safe boxes. Steadfast Enchantment is a really must-have passive in the green tree. Your weapons decay at a 50% slower rate. So, that's it for me. Now, if you tend to travel around a lot by way shrine and actually pay the gold, then you may want to invest some champion points into Wanderer. If not, then this isn't that big of a deal. Just use the 15 so that way you can bridge it. Outside of that, ones that go in my bar, I use Treasure Hunter because it's always good to find better quality items in treasure chests. And Liquid Efficiency because when it comes to using potions, spell power pots can be expensive. So, 10% chance is still a 10% chance to save some gold. Then I use Master Gatherer and Plentiful Harvest because I like to run around and farm while I am waiting on dungeon queues or groups to form or whatever. One gets me a 50% reduced time in gathering those nodes, and the other one gives me a 50% chance to get double resources from that node. So, but if you don't care about either one of those two that you can replace it with is Rationer. It's really good. It has 30 minutes to your drinks or food. And then the other one, Stead Blessing, increase your movement speed out of combat. The red tree. Boundless Vitality gives us an extra 1400 max health. Fortified gives us an extra 1700 armor. And Rejuvenation gives us 90 health, magic, and stamina recovery. And then finally, Siphoning Spells. We restore 1500 Magicka when we land a killing blow on an enemy. Now for the passives in this one, Hero's Vigor is really good. It gives us an extra 560 max HP, max health. Temperate Soul, when we get caught sleeping, we get that extra 10% resources when we get a res. And then from there, we got Defiance, cost to break, reduces cost to break free. Tumbling reduces cost to roll dodge. Sprinter reduces cost to sprint. In here, under Hasty, increase our movement speed while we're sprinting. Tireless Guardian, reduce the cost of block. Fortification, increases the amount of damage we can block. Savage Defenses, reduce the cost of bash. And then finally, Nimble Protector, it allows us to move around at a 6% movement speed while we're blocking. So, now, blue tree. Passives, Eldritch Insight, gives us more max magicka. Precision, critical chance. Piercing, penetration. Flawless Ritual, increase our chance to apply magical status effects by 60%. War Mage, grants 100 weapon and spell damage to magical attacks. So, from there, I always use Fighting Finesse. Gives me an extra 10% critical damage and critical healing. Deadly Aim, increase your damage done with single target attacks by 10%. Thaumaturge, increase the damage, your damage done with damage over time effects by 10%. And Mastered Arm, increase your damage done with direct damage attacks by 2%. So, now, when I know I can stand behind the target and stay there and have no problem, I put BackStabber on. And when I put BackStabber on, I take Thaumaturge off. The only dot, like I do have a couple of dots, I have 2 dots, and they're all nice. But for the most part, most of my damage is coming, truthfully, you can leave this on here. I have tested with it. It's not a huge difference. So you can really go with any of these. Like, I would replace this one. Like, just me personally, replace the Thaumaturge. Because Mastered Arms increases the damage of our direct damage attacks, and deadly aim increases our single target attacks. And our spammable, what we're using, hits extremely hard. And it is the main thing that we're spamming as it is, because we're only really using like 4 abilities. So this is our key ability. So and 2 of our abilities are single attacks and direct damage attacks. So, well, actually 3 of them are single target attacks. 2 of them just so happens to have kind of dots on them, but they are single target attacks, so this will still increase there. So I would just replace the Thaumaturge. That's just me. Do some testing, figure out whatever you want to use, but I get rid of Thaumaturge for a BackStabber when I know I can stand behind them. Just me. By all means, use whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes you feel like you're doing more damage. Go for it. So, sets. By far, Medusa. Like I said, I've said it multiple times now. Medusa, I use on almost all of my magic characters at this point. It just frees up a slot, and especially on magic users or sorcerers, when you're using 2 pets, your slots are taken up as it is, and that extra slot just really comes in handy. Running a Precise Inferno with a flame damage enchant. What this does, it comes from our Screnia, just gives us a ton of spell critical, and then gives us minor force at all times, increasing your critical damage by 10%. On our back bar, we have the Maelstrom Inferno Staff, infused with a weapon damage enchant. Basically, our light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage while they're in our Wall of Elements. This comes from normal Maelstrom Arena. Go in there, farm it. It's very easy. Might take you a few runs, but it's very easy to do. Like I said, this comes from our Screnia. We're running it because it is a heavy armor set. We're running it on our weapon, and we're running it on our jewelry, infused, and on our necklace with spell damage enchants, and Bloodthirsty on our rings with spell damage enchants. Now, by all means, you can definitely run Bloodthirsty on all 3 of these if you wanted to. It would not hurt nothing. They do not have to be golded out. They were in the golden vendor at one point, and I just bought a ton of these because I know I use them on all my magic characters. So I wanted them. So, monster set. Well, before we get into the monster set, we'll go over the second 5-piece set because it actually plays a factor into our monster set. We're using Ritualist. This comes from the Cauldron. It's one of the DLC dungeons. Pretty cool set. The Unleashed Ritualist set. It gives us max Magicka, max Magicka, max Magicka. And dealing damage to an enemy applies a Ritualist Mark to them for 10 seconds. Enemies with your Ritualist Mark takes an additional 15% damage from your summoned pets. Now, we're running it. I have a Divine's chest, Divine's belt, hands, and boots, and then I have infused legs. I would absolutely love for all this to be Divines. I just haven't got the legs, Divines. And quite frankly, I have enough on this as it is, reconstructed. So I just didn't really want to spend the transmutation crystals. Infused is fine. At least 1 piece in infused won't hurt much. But if you can, all divines is the way to go. So our monster set. As I said, this right here, our Ritualist Mark, our pets, they will deal 15% extra damage. It affects Maw of the Infernal as well. Maw of the Infernal will hit harder on an enemy that has the Ritualist effect mark on them. Or what was it? Yeah, the Ritualist mark. It hits harder. It's not much. Like the attacks, it's like 30 little more damage per tick on its abilities. But it's the fact that it's hitting harder. So overall, when you're DPSing, in general, those little 30, 40s, they add up. So it becomes quite a bit. And Maul the Infernal is a monster set. We're running a medium helmet Divines with Max Magicka and medium shoulder Divines with Max Magicka. And this comes from Banished Cells 2. And what this does, it gives us Max Magicka, and when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you have a 33% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedroth for 15 seconds. The Daedroth attacks deal 2.8k flame damage and alternates between Fiery Breath, Fiery Jaws, and Fiery Claws, which alternates once every 2 seconds. The Daedroth can only be summoned once every 15 seconds, and its damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Now, I've tested it. With Zons and Maul, the difference is pretty much negligible. It is just a few points which literally can be included to crits. A lucky crit here or there. Like, so, honestly, with the Ritualist, wearing Zons and the Ritualist, the difference in the damage isn't that big of a deal. Because Zons is pretty much one of the, I think, and I could be wrong, but I do believe it is the highest single target set for a Magicka user. But with the Ritualist empowering the Maul the Infernal, it seems like they balance out. So, but wearing the Ritualist while wearing Zons, there's not really that much difference in the DPS. Now, it could have just been crits, it could have been whatever. I don't know personally, but I do know testing it, it did not seem to matter that much. I also tried Valkyrie Scoria out and Alambris, and Maul the Infernal and Zons were at least 3k ahead of just about everybody else. 3 to 4k. So, I enjoy them. And that 3-4k could have been simple, like I said, crits. Or maybe not. I don't know. But I'm going with sets to give me the better chance. And because of the fact that this works off of that, it just gives pets. I have 4 pets out at any given moment, at any given time. So all of that together tends to make me very happy with the Ritualist set. So, this is a very powerful pet build, and I am quite loving it. So, DPS wise, what did it pull? 38.1 was what it just pulled just a second ago. On a 3 mil dummy buffed by myself. So, I have hit 31. As you can see, 38.1 there. I have also hit 39k with the same setup. So, crits, lag, all that kind of plays a factor. But I'm pretty sure if I just was able to get a perfect rotation in with no problems, no issues, I'm pretty sure I can break 40k. Or hit at least 40k. And that would be fun. That would be absolutely fine with me. But it is luck because our spammable is Crystal Frags. So maybe if I dropped Inner Light on my front bar and went with something else and just threw Crystal Frags when I had the chance, I could hit 40k. But I don't know. But let's go over skills. Spammable I'm using is Crystal Frags. Like I said, conjure dark crystals to bombard an enemy, dealing 11k magic damage to your next non-ultimate ability cast within 3 seconds, costs 10% less. Casting a magic ability has a 35% chance of causing your next crystal fragments to be instant and deal 66% more damage and cost 50% less magicka. This can proc this. I don't know why it does, but it does. Daedric Prey. Curse an enemy with a Destruction Ruin, dealing 12.9k magic damage to the target and 5k magic damage to all other nearby enemies after 6 seconds. While the curse is active, your pets deal an additional 20% damage to the target. You can have only 1 Daedric Prey active at a time. Inner Light, this is just here for increasing our max magicka by 5%, and you gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.6. And then we have Summon Volatile Familiar. We never activate this. Like, I just don't. I don't activate this when I DPS test. I don't activate this in dungeons. I just don't. It's just there for the extra little damage that he does. Summon Twilight Tormentor. Call on Azura to send a Twilight Tormentor to fight at your side. The Twilight Tormentor zaps deals 3.3k shock damage, and its kicks deal 3.3k shock damage. Once summoned, you can activate the Twilight Tormentor's special ability for 2.6k magic, causing it to deal 53% more damage to enemies above 50% health for 15 seconds. Twilight Tormentor remains until killed or unsummoned. Now, the only time I activate this is at the start of the fight. That's it. I activate it at the start of the DPS test. I activate it at the start of most dungeon fights. And I do not activate it again after the initial fight, after the first initial rotation. After that, I don't do it anymore. I just let it fall off. I just don't. That's just me. This, I never activate. And basically what it does is it just pulsates some magic damage, and it deals shock damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. And to the 2 enemies near him, the final pulse will stun all enemies hit for 3 seconds. That's it. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but the little damage that the pet does is enough. Fiery Rage, create a Catalytic Storm at the target location that builds for 2 seconds, then lays waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 9.8k flame damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Now, if you have your mages leveled up, Ice Comet. You can go with Ice Comet. It's pretty solid. It's really good for enemies that are setting still and will stand still longer. It will deal overall more damage, but we don't tend to use this ultimate anyways. We tend to, maybe for a quick little burst, but for the most part, we're tending to use the Greater Storm Atro. That's usually the ultimate that we're using. Now, we do have our pets double barred, because we have to. If we don't, they fall off. Back bar, blockade of fire. Slam your staff down to create a flaming barrier in front of you, dealing 1.1k flame damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. Degeneration, bind an enemy with chaotic magic, dealing 17.6k magic damage over 12 seconds. Excess magic spills out from them, granting you major sorcery, increasing your spell damage by 20% for 24 seconds. This is a very strong dot. Now, if this is a single target dot as well. If you want something with a little more AoE, Liquid Lightning works just as fine. But this will last for 14 seconds. This only lasts for 11 seconds. So this lasts for 14. So it's going to put, you're either going to be overcasting this, or you're going to have a dynamic, you're going to have to just bar swap every 3 seconds. You know, might be able to bar swap and cast one ability, just to bar swap again to drop Liquid Lightning. Or, if you want to go with something else that is very close, you can go with Soul Trap. Soul Trap lasts for 10 seconds. It does quite a bit of damage as well. Let me go down here to it. Where is Soul Magic? I have not done this. Don't judge. You can go with any of these consuming traps. You know, it does like 15k magic damage over 10 seconds, I believe. Yeah. Damage dealt based on your highest. When the enemy dies, fill Soul Gem. You're going to heal. You're also going to restore Magicka and Stamina. It's going to set off your max health, Magicka, and Stamina. Or you can do Soul Splitting. The damage is going to drop, but it will hit enemies in the entire area. So it's basically going to be like an AoE. So you can really do either one of these. If you don't have Degeneration, Soul Trap is pretty good too. It's just up to you on what you want to use and go with. Me personally, I'm using Degeneration. I was using Structure Entropy, but Degeneration, with the changes, I don't really need the heal due to the Crit Surge. I just went back to using Crit Surge. So I switched it to Degeneration, and it has not leveled up for me at all. So, I don't know. Critical Surge. I don't really need it for the Major Sorcerer, Major Brutality, because I'm getting that from Degeneration. But, while active, dealing critical damage heals me for 3.3k health. This effect can occur once every second. It's basically just there to kind of provide me a heal, because this is not a heal. If I wanted, if I didn't have Crit Surge on, or if I wasn't using Crit Surge for whatever, my pet here, because I really don't activate it that much, would probably be the Twilight that heals me. Because I would want some kind of a heal on my bar. I get this from me dealing damage, and that I would just have to hit it, activate it a second time to get the heal. So, just keep that in mind. If you're not using Crit Surge, have this as the healing pet. So, Raider Storm Atro. Summon an immovable Storm Atro at the target location. Its arrival deals 8.6k shock damage and stuns enemies for 3 seconds. The Atro zaps the closest enemy, dealing 5k shock damage every 1 second. An ally near the Atro can activate the Charged Lightning Synergy, granting the ally and the Atro Major Berserk, increasing their damage done by 10% for 8 seconds. So, now, when it comes to DPS testing, like I said, you can hit high. 38.1, not bad for self-buff on a 3 mil. So, when we DPS test, we are going to elemental susceptibility. Very easy. We're not going to worry about having to use it, use anything in the other rotation. I do not have my ultimate, so let's get my ultimate built up real quick, and I will show you. That little ball over the head is the Ritualist set. So, let's go. How high is it? Need to get it up there. Here shortly. Almost there. I probably almost there. Alright, just a little bit more. Alright, that should do it. Yep, we're good. Okay, so as you can see, while we were doing that, while we were going all through that, let me get rid of them. This never went away. So this ad is still debuffed. So as you can see, because we never went into combat with this one, it never lost its debuff. Oh, no, where are my pets going? I guess I did not wait. Okay. That must have been my mistake. Alright, there we go. So, trash pots. So, alright, let's reset. Everything's good. So, what will you do? Most of the part, if I'm DPS testing, then I don't really bother with activating this. I do at the beginning. I don't do it after the first initial wave because of the fact I'm just going to be getting it from degeneration. I don't bother with activating it the second time. So, what you're going to do to start your rotation is that you're going to activate your Twilight just one time. Just hit it. Alright. So you'll hit it, pop pot, drop your Storm Atro over there. Wall, degeneration, curse, and then just start throwing crystal frags. You'll be able to throw, honestly, 3 or 4. There's no telling, it just depends. And then wall, degeneration, curse. I usually keep tabs on it. Usually when curse starts to run out is when I will curse, bar swap, wall, degeneration. Like, I keep tabs on everything. And then I just throw in my crystal frags as I'm keeping up my dots. So if I can fit a crystal frag in there in between my dots, I do it. Oh, I got stuck. Crest. So, degeneration, that's it. So that's kind of how I just keep my Daedric Prey up. I keep my degeneration up as I see it. So as the dots run out, pop your pots when you can, and just keep it going. That's it. And that one's out again. So I'm gonna drop my pet again, and it's just slow and steady. You don't have to overdo it. Just slowly learn your rotation, and it won't take much. Because we don't have an execute, so you're just going to have to keep it going. At this point, I really don't need Wall of Elements. I really don't need degeneration, so I just kind of just keep throwing my crystal frags. So even going through slowly and talking about it, it was still 33.7. So again, just to reiterate, you're going to start your pet. I like to pop my pot afterwards because it gives me that resources back. You're going to drop your Greater Storm Atro away from the target, but still close enough that it can attack it. And then you will Wall of Elements, Light Attack, Degeneration, Bar Swap, Curse, Light Attack, and just start throwing out crystal frags. That's it. And then as your dots run down, as you can see, you should be able to throw out one more prey. Bar Swap, Wall, Degeneration. About that time, you might be able to throw another 1 or 2 crystal frags, depending on if it's procced or not. Prey. This rotation isn't necessarily static. There isn't a static because it's all about chance with the crystal frags. Now, if you do not get a single proc of your crystal frags, you're probably only going to be able to cast 3 before you have to start the rotation. But if you get an instant cast, then you might be able to throw out 4, maybe 5. It just depends on your RNG. So, but yeah. Hope you enjoyed Sorcerer. I'm hoping you're enjoying this patch, and I hope you're enjoying the game. Let me know what you think. And until next time, take care. Have fun.